Tyreek's talked about retiring randomly. Didn't Tyreek say he's like, I'll play till I'm 30 and I'm done?
He said he was going to play out his contract. He's under contract till 2026, but his cap number in 2026 is $56.3 million.
Classic.
I mean, I mean, what? Talk about the Magic Johnson. I'm not going to be here. Whoever wrote that one up was like, yep, not going to be my problem.
Welcome to the opening bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers joining you guys on a Monday edition of the show. And it is a little bit of a mock draft Monday. We didn't tease that at the end of last week, but we had a late Christmas present, maybe is the way I should say it, at the end of the week after we recorded. And that is one of the best in the business. NFL Network's own Daniel Jeremiah put out his 2024 NFL Draft Mock Draft 1.0, which I know everybody probably went over to read. But if you didn't, we're going to be revealing those picks here on this show. You should still go over to NFL.com and click it because Jeremiah is the best and you should absolutely support him. But Connor and I thought we'd have a little bit of fun. Instead of just reacting to the mock draft, we're going to go mock for mock. We're going to go Jeremiah's mock versus the mock that we're going to come up with here on this show. And we've got some fun rules and stipulations that'll make this a good episode as we get to talk about some of these player selections. But Connor, I'm excited for this one, man. Anytime the main draft media really starts to get involved, starts to put out their mock drafts, this is when you know mock draft season is really heating up.
That's exactly right, dude. When you look at it, him and Brugler, Dan Brugler from The Athletic, I feel like they just have a good hand on the pulse of the draft early, is what I like to think. You'll see a player in here and you're like, oh, that's a little higher than we thought, but they're probably talking to the right people that know that player's going to test well or interview well, or there's things behind the scenes or projections that are just different. And it's not that those guys aren't doing their own work. It's just that matter of, really understanding the landscape. And it's something that I think you and I, over the course of this show, which has been, is this Senior Bowl 3 for us next week? I think it is. I know our show launched right before Senior Bowl.
Is it 3?
It's insane.
It's at least 2. I feel like we've been doing this for forever, so I don't even really remember what it's either 3 or 2 for us.
I think this is 3. The show's not a year old, so it's 2 years old. So either way,
true. It would be 3.
It'll be our third Senior Bowl as this show exists, which is nuts. I think you and I have made it a mission with how much time we put into summer scouting to get better at that, right? Mm-hmm. Find the players that, hey, no, nobody's talking about this guy. These guys also confirm it with a lot of, especially like Jeremiah, and he's worked with guys that were our GMs in the league now.
Right.
He's still hiding from the league. Yeah. So it's always cool to read his work, and we'll get to react to it, and it'll be a lot of fun.
No, it will be. So the stipulations of this mock draft, just to make it fun, and again, to go mock for mock here, what we're going to happen on this show, what the structure is we're going to go through Daniel Jeremiah's mock, and then Connor and I are going to side by side do our own mock draft. And the way that we're going to do it is, if we don't agree with the pick, like if we would do something different, which I'm glad that you set it up this way because it is worth repeating. Jeremiah, rightfully so, he says all the time when he does mock drafts, he does them with his ears. When he does rankings, he does those with his eyes. Yes. So his own rankings are what he thinks of these players. But when he does mock drafts, even some of these early ones, a lot of it is kind of what he thinks about these players. But like Connor said, he'll send some feelers out, and he'll be like, hey, guys in the league, like, what do you think of this guy? Am I too high on this guy? All that kinds of stuff. So that he's got, like you said, a good finger on the pulse. So Jeremiah is doing these things a lot with what he hears in the league. But if we want to change that pick, we have to stick with a player at that same position. So maybe the mock at the end of the episode, it's going to look pretty similar. But it is going to be a fun way to look at what Jeremiah has, kind of the players and his thought on these guys, and then what we might change it to ourselves, but it's got to stay within the same position. So that's the stipulations on the mock draft. Connor, if you're ready to get it going, I'll pull it up and we can get in.
As a very famous man once said, let's ride. Let's do this. It's, everybody knows that it's going to start at the top pretty chalk here with the quarterbacks, and the Bears, who hired Shane Waldron on the day of this recording. Good for the Bears. They get one of the more accomplished offensive coordinators on the market.
Big.
I think the question I got the most in my mentions, Trevor, was, does this lean more that they'll keep Fields or draft a quarterback? And one, I don't know if there's necessarily correlation. Two, because Ryan Poles is the GM and he's still there. But I still believe this is a team drafting a quarterback, and no coincidence. So does, one of the biggest, if not the biggest draft media analyst in Daniel Jeremiah, with them taking Caleb Williams first overall.
Yeah, and look, I don't think this is a change from us.
No, it's not.
I think that we're going to go with Caleb Williams here as well. Like I mentioned, you guys can find this mock over at NFL.com. You can find Jeremiah's there. You can also, of course, if you see the mock draft simulator on the screen, it's the first time you've seen it. If you're interested in doing your own mock drafts, you can unlock the full mock draft simulator over at PFF.com. Use the promo code MDS30. You can get 30% off all that. Had to make sure I hit that as we kind of got into this. But I do think that you are right. It still feels like Caleb until I get concrete reason to believe it's not Caleb. This is going to stay Caleb Williams. And for Jeremiah to have a Caleb Williams, you mentioned Dan Brugler, who we love, who is, again, one of the best. He also had Caleb Williams as his QB1 in his most recent mock draft. Until you give me a reason for it not to be Caleb Williams, it's going to be Caleb Williams for us. So no change there. I assume that also means no change for us with his pick for Washington, which is Drake May as well, the very common 1-2. Do you have any objections to this one?
No, I think Washington is, in an odd way, almost easier or just as easy to paint the picture going forward as the Bears, right? The Bears, they kept Eberflus and Poles. They hired Waldron. We think they're going to draft a quarterback number 1 overall. And with Washington, they hired Adam Peters to be their GM. I think they will hire Ben Johnson to be their next coach. And I think they will draft Drake May at number 2 overall. So I think honestly, Trevor, I don't think these teams will pick up the phones for these picks. I think these picks they are probably very excited to make these picks.
Yeah, I think it's, by the time we get to draft weekend, that's probably true, right?
Yeah, because right. It's a little early to be, but yeah.
Right, but to your point, I think there's people who are watching or listening to this show who would go, what do you mean? The Bears are going to be all over the phone. They're going to figure out, what the price tag is worth. But by the time the draft rolls around, they're probably going to have a better answer on Fields. Maybe they don't. Maybe they've still got Fields, on the roster. Maybe he's still there. Maybe,
who knows?
Maybe draft weekend really is when we figure out if the Bears are all in on Justin Fields or not. Maybe we won't even know until the card is in. Which, man, that would make for a entertaining lead up to the NFL draft. So maybe that is the case. But for now, we're going to go Caleb Williams at 1. We're going to go Drake May at 2. Now, here is one that I'm not going to lie. I'm surprised that Jeremiah has Jaden Daniels at 3. And not because I don't think he's worth it. I've had Jaden Daniels at 3 in a couple of mock drafts. I think we have here on this show, one way or the other, whether you have selected him or I have selected him at number 3 for the Patriots. But Jeremiah having him at 3, to me, is validation in that he is in this conversation. Whether he goes number 3 or not, we heard Gerard Mayo, the new head coach of the New England Patriots, basically say, we're going to pick a player at a very important position with our first pick in this upcoming draft. And he said a very good one at that. And the fact that he said a very good player, I went, is he just talking about Marvin Harrison?
Yeah.
Because that's an easy thing to say. Are you just is he just talking about Marvin Harrison? Because wide receiver, also a very important position. The Patriots absolutely need one. So to me, I thought, okay, he could still be talking about Harrison Jr., but the obvious way that he was answering that question, especially with the smile on his face, thinking that he really couldn't hold back from what he was answering, was about a quarterback. And for him to say that as definitively as he did must mean that through the preliminary work that they've already done, Caleb, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, they'd be good with all 3 of them. So I'm not saying that's 100% sure, but the fact that Jeremiah has Jaden Daniels at 3 makes me feel like it is certainly on the table. So this one's, since it's a quarterback, certainly it's not going to get a change from me.
It won't. Yeah, from me either. I keep looking at New England at 3 and thinking, man, they could just take the best player in the draft and Marvin Harrison Jr. And I personally wouldn't fault them for that. I would probably actually even advocate for that. But they are in such a unique circumstance for them that they have not found themselves in a long time. And that is that Robert Kraft is going into a new era with a new head coach. And I think they want a quarterback to be a part of that new era. And it's not Mac Jones. It's not Bailey Zappi. And even though, we've kicked this idea around, like it's not Kirk Cousins probably, right? It just feels like getting everybody on this big long-term timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniels is thought of this highly, quite clearly. So I'm not changing this. And obviously 4 is the easiest pass over in, the entire draft.
Well, I was gonna rope in the next 3 picks.
Yeah, let's do it that way.
It is the Arizona Cardinals at 4. Jeremiah's got the Cardinals taking Marvin Harrison Jr. At 5, the Los Angeles Chargers, he has them taking Rome Odunze, the wide receiver from Washington. And then 6, the New York Giants, he has them taking wide receiver Malik Neighbors from LSU. So it is boom, boom, boom. Quarterback, 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 wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, which is pretty crazy given that we have the offensive tackle prospects of the caliber of this draft class.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
It definitely is. And I think it's 2 things. One, it's to show how important wide receivers become in this league.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, it shows how gifted this class is, right? I mean, 3 guys, 3 of the top 6 picks are wide receivers. And you can't even sit there and call that crazy. You can't. I'm going to change one of these, but you can't call it crazy at all.
So are you going to change Malik going 5 instead of Rome?
Yeah. Okay. I think, you know what it is for me? And obviously Jeremiah's a great evaluator. He's done this in the league at a high level. And he did write in the blurb about Odunze, he's a complete receiver. That's just where I differ from most analysts. I don't think Rome Odunze is a complete receiver. I think he's a good one. I don't think he's dynamic after the catch at all. I think it's just not part of his game, personally. And I think Neighbors, I would say, is the complete receiver because he is so gifted at running away from people with and without the ball. And I think that's just a massive part of the NFL today. So now I'll say this. I like the Neighbors, the Giants is just, I've talked about this fit since summer. When you look at this team, when I was thinking Daniel Jones was still going to be the clear defined guy, I was like, they got to get him somebody that's explosive and can change the game at all 3 levels. So it's weird because I love Neighbors to the Giants, but if I'm the Chargers, I'm taking Malik Neighbors over Rome Odunze.
I think I am too. You glossed over his first sentence describing Rome Odunze, which is Jeremiah saying Odunze is my favorite player in the draft. That's what Jeremiah said.
High praise.
And I think
in this draft,
what's the Andy Samberg, Nick Cage SNL skit where he's just like, it's high praise.
Yes, it's high praise.
and I mean, it is. Look, you started this wide receiver talking about how good all 3 of these players are. And we've talked many times on this podcast saying that they are all wide receiver 1 caliber players. I would agree with you. I think this show seems to be consensus. Malik Neighbors is wide receiver 2. So we are going to change that, and we are going to go Malik Neighbors to the Chargers. And then since we aren't changing any sort of picks outside of the positions, I don't want to speak for you, but Rome Odunze goes 6 then to the Giants.
Sure. And, with this, I actually think I could sell this a little better. I know the Chargers, and Jeremiah wrote this, they have salary cap decisions to make with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. But say you keep one of those 2.
Keenan.
Say you keep Keenan.
100%.
I really like the compliment with him and Neighbors.
Oh, sure.
I don't really love the variance of that offense with Odunze. I like it. It's fun. But I think it's better with Malik Neighbors, where the Giants just need able bodies that can play the position in all shapes and sizes, okay? I mean, Darren Waller is just unfortunately always hurt. I mean, yes, they got a little bit out of Wandale this year, and Hyatt flashed, and Slayton is still always a thing. But Odunze for the Giants is like a number 1 that you're funneling the offense through, and I didn't see him that way. I didn't see a unique skill set coming to the Chargers with what they already have, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure. I think if I had a counter to that, which I certainly, like I said, I agree that I like Neighbors more for the Chargers just because I like Neighbors more.
Right. I think sometimes it's that simple.
Right. But if you're trying to get into okay, who plays what? I think Keenan just plays the get open dude because he's that good at it still. He's getting up there in age, so that's gonna decline as it naturally does, but he's still kind of just that get open, reliable player. If you're losing Mike Williams and you have Quentin Johnston, I think they wanted Quentin Johnston to be more of a deep threat player, and he's just not. Like the hand-eye coordination and reeling things in over the shoulder and that deep catch concentration, like that just was not there for him. So
maybe doesn't run away from a lot of people.
No, but like maybe they turn him into like a Rashee Rice type of player, like what the Chiefs are doing with Rashee Rice.
I think that's a great call. That's what he's good at.
Well, so if you do that, I can see somebody saying, okay, well, Rome Odunze, more of a deep threat, contested catch kind of a guy like Mike Williams was. That's not to say Malik Neighbors isn't. He's absolutely a deep threat. He's just like a little bit different of a style. He's more of a, from the slot, get away from people, manipulate space, whereas Rome was more of that like on the sideline type of contested catch wide receiver. So it almost kind of depends what role you want to fill there. I don't think there's a wrong answer, but again, just talent overall, I'd be going with Neighbors at 5.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. I do think it's interesting though, because I think I put a wide receiver to the Chargers in my last mock draft, and a lot of the feedback, when Roto World posts the Instagram post, the comments just get wild. And a couple of, Chargers fans are like, we just took a receiver. Like, this is insane. And
Roto World blurb is just Rodgers hates O-line.
Rodgers is an idiot.
wants Justin Herbert to die.
Yes. No, I wanted them to get another receiver.
Rodgers sentences Herbert to death.
Long may he reign. All right.
So 6, we're going Rome for the Giants?
Yeah, it's easy to flip them with the way we formatted this show specifically.
Yeah. I don't think there's another,
no.
I'm not taking, as much as I like Thomas and Franklin and Tez, I wouldn't take them over Rome. So we'll go Rome at 6. 7, the Tennessee Titans. Joe All comes off the board. Do we have any objections there?
I think it's great. It's a great pick for the Titans.
Falcons 8. Turner. If we were to switch this, it would simply to just be because we want to switch it because you and I like Jared Verse a lot as well.
Yeah, Turner and Verse will be my top 2 edge players, I think. And if I had to feel for my final rankings, and I always warn you guys that why edge can change more than other positions is because the testing is so important.
It is
compared to other prospects. But if I just had to look into the crystal ball, these guys go back to back in the mock draft, and I think they'll be in some form of 1 and 2 for me in the end.
Yeah, I have Turner edge 1 slightly. Did you have Turner edge 1? I can't remember from the edge show.
No, when we did that a month ago or whatever it was,
would you have Latu?
I think I still had Latu Verse than Turner, but I've been going through more and more Latu, and I still like him a lot. But everybody knows the questions there.
I just think I love Latu. I think he's going to be a really good pro. I don't think he's going to be the first edge off the board. I think they're going to pick
between the medical and
I think they're going to pick Turner.
And Turner is going to teleport in his testing. He's just a total freak of nature.
God, I can't wait to see what he weighs in at.
Right? Yeah, he's gotten bigger. He grew on me more than almost any player in this draft.
Yeah.
Right.
Compared to Summer? All right. So we stick him with Turner.
Yeah, you can keep it with Turner. If you want to have fun here, Falcons and Bears fans, if we flipped it with Verse, if you're a Falcons fan, if you got Verse instead, you're getting a more heavy-handed power guy, where Turner's more speed and elusiveness and explosiveness. And then the same would obviously be said for the Bears if they got Turner instead of Verse. So we've mocked Turner to the Bears, I think, before.
Yes, we have.
They already know that.
In the triple team mock draft that we did for the Bears, I think we picked. Yes. Didn't we pick Turner every time?
I think we definitely tried. We were like, oh, this is great.
I also it didn't click in my head that Verse goes immediately after this, so it's literally 1-2,
which is a big takeaway, right? Like 2 edge players in the top 10 has not been common thought process yet. As much as you and I love a lot of this edge class,
we've presented the idea.
Yes.
But if with the Falcons, it's kind of been, hey, do they take a quarterback here? And
and they're just maybe
does not have them taking.
Maybe the supply just isn't. Well, we'll have that larger combo soon.
All right, so we'll go Turner, then we'll go Verse for the Falcons, and the Bears. That is equal to Jeremiah's mock. As of right now, the only change that we have in the top 10 is flipping Malik Neighbors and Romo Dunze. Jeremiah just must be a big fan of the pod. That's all.
Right. I know. I opened this up.
I don't blame the guy. He put together a good show.
Yeah. Usually you open up mock drafts this time of year and you're like, he did what? Where?
Well,
because you and I are so programmed a certain way.
We're going to get to that.
Yeah. Well, we're literally right now
in like 2 picks. Well, so the
literally
Jets,
a 10.
Jets Talize Fuaga is who DJ has them taking. Which, Connor, let me tell you this. I could not be happier seeing this.
Right.
Because there have been times before where I have gone through this process in years past where I would love somebody. Like, I'd watch his tape and be like, God, this guy's a first rounder. Nobody's talking about him. Like, we're not talking about this guy enough. He's a first rounder. And not to say, like, I don't mean this to say, oh, I was first on Talize Fuaga. Like,
you texted me, I think in October one night, like so excited.
Okay,
so excited.
It's because he whips ass, dude.
He does.
He is such a fun prospect, and there have been times before where I've gotten really excited about a guy, really excited about his abilities, but then through either talking to people around the league myself or reading mock drafts of people who are really plugged into the league as well, you just understand they're not going to go that high. The league just does not think that highly of them. And I get bummed out. Because I think they're good football players.
Yeah,
the fact that DJ has Fuaga above Olu Fashanu, and when we did the offensive tackle episode a couple of weeks ago, I said on the show, it is so damn close between those guys. It is not a 1-2 Olu and Alt for me. It is a 1-2-3. And to be honest with you, the gap was closer on my film grade between Olu and Fuaga than it was to where Alt was. That's not to say like it was a Grand Canyon of a gap, but that's to say how much I liked Fuaga. And the fact that he has Fuaga above Olu Fashanu, it just makes me happy because I think he's a damn good football player, and I think that the league agrees that he's a damn good football player. So all that to say, this is for your New York Football Jets. He has them taking Fuaga at 10 over Olu. Would you do the same?
So I was trying to think of who last year's was, and I would say Kalijah Cansey was one of them. It was like, you can't take him in the top, 12 to 15 because he's small.
Buccaneer great, by the way.
He's awesome. He's so awesome, dude. I love watching that dude play.
I think for me last year, it was Deonte Banks.
Okay. And I'll say for you last year, it was Anton Harrison. We didn't think he was going in the first round the whole time.
Yeah. I loved Harrison during summer scouting, and then I kind of learned that the league was a lot lower on him, and I was like, oh, that's a bummer. I think that he's pretty damn good. And then he ends up going in the first round.
It's amazing.
So that did make me happy. But yeah, I think if anybody, it was Deonte Banks. Because it's not fair to say that it's Witherspoon, because once everybody watched Witherspoon,
he took off like a rocket.
And you and I loved Witherspoon basically from the moment that we watched him.
So I looked at this a lot of it like you, and then on the other side of it. So you know what made me feel good about this? To piggyback off what you said, I've seen some chatter, especially when I put him in my mock drafts to the Jets at 10. People are like, well, some people are saying he's a guard. And I'm like, we just need to, as a society, stop doing this all the time. Like, I'm just begging everybody that if a guy is not a perfect tackle prospect, but he's a good run blocker, that he's a guard. We have to stop doing this. Mm-hmm. So he's a damn good right tackle that keeps getting better in pass pro each year. It might not be perfect. We've gone over this on the pod. Go listen to the offensive line rankings. Went through it. So this was very reassuring because DJ, as we keep saying on this, really knows what's going on. And I mean, here's a perfect example, and we'll get to it a little later. He puts Fontenot to the Seahawks, and he writes in the blurb, he would slide right in at guard in Seattle, and he could play tackle in a pinch. So he's being open to the fact that a guy like Troy Fontenot it could be a long-term guard with tackle flexibility. With Fuaga, here's the tackle for the Jets, right? Like that's how it came off. And Fuaga is great. I've been trying to say to people, the gap from him to the top two is not this black hole that it's like, well, man, we're going from Two guys that should be bona fide top 10 picks to a guy that's like a late first rounder. I don't see that with Fuaga. I've been with you the whole way since you texted me that and I watched him. He's a top 15, no brainer. He is special in the run game. He's so good as an inside zone blocker, and he keeps getting so much better in pass pro. Nobody can rush through him, which is very important. Now, the real conversation, though, is that the Jets pass on Olu Fashanu. And why I couldn't do that, Trevor, and I would have to change him to this pick is the goal next year has to be to keep Aaron Rodgers upright. And I still think Fashanu is such a gifted pass protecting left tackle. So gifted. Great feet, great adjustments, long arms, every explosive off the ball where he dictates all the reps, that even if he's not as good of a run blocker, and it's not close, he's not even close to Fuaga or all as a run blocker, he is such a unique pass protector that with the state of the Jets at quarterback, keeping Rodgers, an older quarterback, upright, I think Fashanu is a pro-ready pass protector, and that's a crazy thing to say about a prospect in this day and age, because a lot of them just aren't. They just aren't. I would change this pick to Fashanu, but I like that we can have the adult conversation of why Fuaga is justified going here, because he is.
He is, and I'm glad that we were able to kind of have that little back and forth there. We could change this to Olu Fashanu, even though I'll never forgive you for it. So all right, we will go Fashanu at 10, and I think there's another big conversation that we now get to have at number 11. But before we have that big conversation, if you got a family out there, you need to get them term life insurance to protect them. It's one of the smartest decisions that you can make, and the start of the new year is the perfect time to get it done so you guys can focus on whatever else the year has in store for you. Fabric was designed by parents for parents to help you get high quality, surprisingly affordable term life insurance policies in less than 10 minutes. They got flexible policies that are fit your family's budget with quality policies like $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day. You can get your personalized quote in just minutes and then apply whenever it is convenient for you, all online and to your schedule. You can go from start to covered in less than 10 minutes with no health exam required. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to protect their family and apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/stock exchange. Meetfabric.com/stock exchange. MEET fabric.com/stock exchange. Policies are issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. So the conversation at number 11 is for the Minnesota Vikings. Now, this is some rumblings that we have been hearing a lot of lately. And I agree with the rise. But baby. Man. Byron Murphy, Texas interior defensive tackle at number 11 to the Minnesota Vikings. Man. Jeremiah says, I believe that Murphy is the top defensive tackle in this class. Connor, what do we think?
I got a lot more work to do on Murphy to talk about like this level. We haven't done defensive tackle, obviously, on this show yet.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Newton's been my top dog since the summer. I'm going to be very impressed if I come away from watching the entire D tackle class and I put Murphy over Newton. I just thought Newton was so complete for really almost 2 years now. And Murphy's a game record. There's no denying that. But 11, wow. I can't. I'm not sitting here killing the pick because I truly just don't have. Like, do you have a better feel for this one? I just haven't looked at Murphy yet as this level of prospect, but I need to watch more tape of his. He could test like an absolute monster if you just watch any tape of his. But man, Vikings going D tackle at 11. That's with some of the talent that's on the board here. This was definitely maybe the surprise of the entire mock draft.
Yeah, I could definitely see interior defensive tackle for the Vikings because it's a need. Them going that spot at number 11, like you said, it is definitely a surprise. This past year, Murphy had a higher run blocking grade or run defense grade than Newton did. And he also had a better pass rushing grade than Newton did. He had 48 total pressures to Newton's 45. Newton had a 15.0 pass rush win percentage. Byron Murphy had a 20.2 pass rush win percentage. I'm trying to pull it up real quick because I think Newton's 2022 season was a little bit better. It was. So Newton the previous year had just a 14.7 pass rush win percentage, so it actually wasn't higher than what it was this year. But in run defense, he had an elite run defense grade last year of 91.9. So I think that Newton's a really, really good player. Byron Murphy, another tidbit about him, Dane Brugler tweeted this out. He will be just 20 and a half years old on draft weekend. That is extremely alluring in and of itself. Murphy was also ranked 18th on Bruce Feldman's college football freaks list. We've got, so what did he say here? The junior who had 26 tackles and 3 tackles for loss last year, that was the previous season in 2022, has been clocked at 18 miles an hour on the team's GPS, had a team best 455-pound front squat, and power clean 375 pounds. He could have gone even heavier, but the strength coach shut him down. He said that Murphy could have gotten 500 on the front squat and 405 in the power clean. That is stupid strength. So you've got age, you've got a great year of production against some good competition, and you've got the freakish athletic ability. It makes sense. I would not be able to change this position because we have not done interior defensive line yet since the season was over. So I think that we should go Johnny Newton. It's because you got the 2 solidified years. But we'll probably find a home for Byron Murphy at some point, because even what I have seen from him in 2023, even though it's not like an official, like final regular season film grade kind of a thing, I have liked what I've seen. I've put him pretty high up on the big board. I think he's in the 40s right now on PFS big board. So I definitely see the rise. 11. Whew, boy. That's big. So you want to do Newton here?
It's one that I almost think we don't change because we just haven't done interior defensive line on that level yet.
All right. You want to show some, you want to show some respect?
Right. It is literally showing some respect.
Yeah, I got Byron Murphy at 44 on the PFF big board. I might be way too low on him. So
yeah,
all right,
we'll catch up on that route.
We'll go Byron Murphy at
I will be surprised though. Newton's been one of my favorite players in this class since summer.
So 12, he's got Terrion Arnold as CB1 off the board. And in his blurb, he says, I think Arnold could go as high as 5th overall.
Man, this is just too hot to touch. Wear your oven mitts. This is like taking a baked potato out of the oven after it's been sitting in there on 450.
DJ. I love it, though. Stand on conviction. All right.
Yeah.
He says he's the best cornerback in this draft, and he would pair with Patrick Surtain II to give the Broncos one of the best CD teams in the league, if not the best. Whew, baby. Highest 5th overall. You and I just did cornerbacks. Neither of us had Terrion Arnold as CB1.
No.
So if we're going CB here, we're going Cooper DeJean, right?
Right. That's just, I'll stand. This is the total opposite of the last combo we just had. I have a lot of conviction on this. And Terrion Arnold, 20 years old, was tremendous this year and tested a lot. He's athletic. You heard it all, and we just did the whole corner show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a trajectory for him to get a lot better because he's so young and inexperienced and really good. But I don't rank him higher than Cooper DeJean.
I agree. We're going Cooper DeJean here, especially if DeJean is your CB2. If DeJean is your CB2, I was actually talking with Brett Coleman about this because he was texting me after we recorded the cornerback show, and he talked about how he's probably going to have DeJean as more of a slot corner simply because he is that good of a run defender.
Like a big nickel defender.
Essentially, like a roaming.
Yeah, I get it.
Basically like a do-it-all secondary player. And you and I kind of talked about him having that versatility and that ability, even though we said that he is an outside corner. I mentioned to Brett, I could see him in sort of like that Jalen Ramsey role where they will rotate Jalen Ramsey in and out depending on what the matchup is each and every week. So he primarily plays on the outside, but if there's, a juicy matchup in the slot, you could put him on the inside and you're not going to have to worry about any sort of run defense either. So Brett was talking about that. And I think if you are in a situation where you're drafting DeJean to the Denver Broncos, you set yourself up to be able to do that really, really well. You got one of the best corners on the outside on the perimeter in Patrick Surtain anyways. And you can basically just say, okay, now we get to have fun and deploy DeJean wherever we want. So
that's pretty sick, honestly.
So we'll go DeJean at 12, 13 of the Raiders, Olu Fashanu. So here we'll go Fuaga.
So funny about this, right? we flipped this for the Jets, but it also works out really nice, in my opinion, for the Raiders because Fuaga's a right tackle. The Raiders have one of the best left tackles in football in Colton Miller. I'm not saying Fashanu can't flip over to the right side. I don't know that yet. But I do know Fuaga's a right tackle. And they need a right tackle more than they need a left tackle because Colton Miller is really good. So this is one of those swaps where it's like, cool, works for everyone.
Yep, makes sense. Saints, Bo.
There it is.
Nix. Top 15, baby. You love to see it.
Derek Carr blocked Daniel Jeremiah so fast after this mock draft dropped.
David Carr did too.
And David Carr and the other Carr.
Yeah, and Cars the movie.
Yes,
the movie Twitter handle somehow blocked Jeremiah because you thought he was just catching strays out there.
Listen, this is your man, so please.
Look, I completely agree with you, man. I think I've been trying to tell the good people on this show. I think that Nix is going top 20. I don't know if he's going top 10, but he's too talented of a player at this point and has passed so many tests. You got to be able to take the Auburn film and just put it to the side. You got to start with the first 2 years that he played at Oregon. And some people are going to say, how can you have that as a start to the eval? Not everybody breaks out right away. And for Bo Nix specifically, we talk about this with rookies all the time. We talk about this with rookies in the NFL when it comes to their landing spot. If you throw a guy out there to the wolves, if you will, to a situation that is not ideal, and they are not confident enough to handle the failures that are going to come with it, it doesn't matter how talented they are. You could ruin them mentally. And I feel like Nix just got ruined mentally when he was at Auburn. And when he was able to go over to Oregon, he was able to totally reset. And he was able to reset into a really good quarterback. And over the last 2 years, he has shown that he is not only better than the Auburn days, but he is getting better as time goes on. Yes, he's going to be older of a prospect. I don't care. I don't care. You can play quarterback until you're 40 years old. It does not matter. Geno Smith's balling out at this level, for the first time in his career, he's mid-30s. If you got the talent to be able to do it, your breakout age could be all over the place. Is it better to dominate when you're younger? Yes, of course it is. But I am telling you guys, think Nix is going top 20. Think you just got to accept it.
It wouldn't shock me. I think McCarthy is too, by the way. Or at least in the first. I shouldn't say top 20 for McCarthy. I think somebody will take him in the first round.
Jeremiah had McCarthy in here.
No, he didn't.
Talk about that. No, he didn't.
He didn't have him or Penix. This is where it ends for the quarterbacks.
Oh, wow. I'm actually really surprised that he doesn't have McCarthy in there.
Me too.
But
I think we're going to land on that.
I think it's probably because he watched McCarthy. He watched McCarthy, and he probably knows how much McCarthy has to learn, how far he has to go to be able to succeed at the NFL level. And I agree with him. That's what we said on the show.
Yeah.
So I like this. I like this situation. The Saints are kind of stuck with Derek Carr for at least next year, but
that's why I don't love this pick. Why? I don't like the landing spot. They made their bed. They made a bad decision. They signed Derek Carr to a big money contract with guarantees. Get the most out of him next year. I guess you could do this, and it would be different if I valued Nix here and I don't. But I would rather walk away with this draft with Brock Bowers, or literally one of just the higher end talent, Laiatu Latu. Shit.
Well, they need edge for sure.
Yeah, it just feels like the wrong team. But I guess you can't say that if you believe in the guy. This creates a situation that's going to be a powder keg next year because Carr is going to be so pissy about this, which he has to get over it. But
compete,
right? I know. But we don't have to obviously change it because we'd have to put another quarterback here. And as much as I like Penix, I wouldn't have another quarterback probably going in the top 15 at this point from what I expect.
I just realized I took Brock Bowers to the Bears at 9. Why did I do that?
Oh, like in our draft going?
Yeah, in our draft.
I don't know why you did that either. You must have just clicked on the wrong.
Hold on,
he was probably near verse.
I think he was. I think I just was. It was the fact that we went 1-2 really quickly with Dallas Turner.
Yeah, we did.
And so verse. I wonder if that's how it happened. So
double
okay,
click.
Just you.
Yeah, I'll
you
talk
kick
through
us
the
off.
mock draft while you catch up on our actual draft.
Yeah.
So after Knicks at 14 to the Saints, Brock Bowers goes to the Colts at 15. This is a pick that Trevor and I have really liked. You've probably seen it in our mock drafts already. And I thought Jeremiah's blurb on this was truly how we're all feeling. He goes, Bowers is going to be tricky to place in mock drafts. The talent suggests he should be a top 5 pick, but the debate about positional value could push him down as far as the Colts at 15. There's no better way to sum it up. Bowers is a no-brainer top 8 player in this draft. And I think he's the third best playmaker. I think it's Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, then Brock Bowers. Yet, when you go through these exercises over and over again, it is so hard to find him a home in the top 10 picks. It really is, because of needs and positional value and all of those situations. So, personally, Trevor, I would leave him here. It's just a sin to have Bowers continue to fall. Damn, you did that fast. I looked up and it was already done. So I would keep Bowers at 15.
I got the fastest mock draft hands in the West. They call me the Doc Holliday.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
mock draft simulator.
Yeah, you really are.
Not me.
Without the tuberculosis.
Yeah, right. Well, hopefully,
yes. You don't need no dry climate.
Right.
I'm
not changing this. Obviously, since we're sticking with the same position, I'm not going to put Jatavian Sanders here.
Oh my God, I didn't even think of the alternative. Anyway, so
Caged over at 15, baby.
16. The Seahawks take Fontenot, another pick that I've absolutely loved, and your Fuaga feeling. This was my feeling at 16. Because when I put Fontenot to the Seahawks at 16, I was like, am I a madman? Like, is this going to be very not well received? Because, even if he has to play guard with the flexibility to play tackle, is this too early? I just think he's a great player, and I think it's a need for Seattle. And, this makes them so much better right away.
I was just watching Dylan Johnson because I'm doing his scouting profile. I was watching him this morning. And there is a rep where he either scores a touchdown or he goes out of bounds at the 1. Can't remember. But Fontenot is blocking somebody and they knock his helmet off and he does not stop playing. He immediately, the second the helmet comes off, he realizes it comes off. And I think he realizes that he is not allowed to keep playing because you see for a moment in his head, he's like, I'm supposed to stop. And then you see him the second later just go, yeah, screw it. And he just throws his shoulder into somebody and basically just keeps playing the play. So no, man, I like Troy Fontenot a lot. I think that he is he's a really good offensive lineman. We definitely don't have to change this pick. Trying to think of who else.
Well, I know we're going to change the 17th pick. So
yeah,
for those listening,
I might change this.
Oh, okay.
I might change this to Latham.
Wow.
I do think Latham's good. I'm higher on Latham than you are.
Yeah, but are you playing him you feel good about him at guard? Seattle doesn't need a tackle. I feel better about Fontenot at guard than I do about Latham at guard.
I guess it's fair. And I'd rather Latham stay at tackle. All right, we'll go Fontenot with 16. We almost threw a curveball, but we didn't.
I stepped in front of the incoming car. I was like, no, please.
Who's 17?
Quinyon Mitchell went to Jacksonville.
Ooh.
Corner 2 off the board. Was not corner 2 for us.
I think he was corner 4 for me.
I think he was 5.
He was 5 for you. He's 4 for me.
He was 6 for me. He was 5 for you.
So he's 5 for me. Yeah.
I had Tampa at 5. You had it flipped. But either way, you still had 4 corners in front of him.
Oh, wow. Okay. He barely gets Kool-Aid in the first round. He barely gets Wiggins in the first round.
Right.
Okay. All right. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
So then CB2 for us, Nate Wiggins.
Yep.
Yeah. I'd feel pretty confident about that.
I feel good about that one too.
If you're going corner, I think Wiggins is a stud.
Yeah, I didn't agree to. We talked about this on our corner preview. Mitchell's ball production was amazing in 2022. It's the only reason I watched him this summer. It's like Toledo corner. Oh, that ball production's crazy. And Jeremiah already wasn't challenged as much as 2023. He probably wasn't challenged as much in terms of the aggression of throws, but he was targeted 62 times this year and 70 in 2022. He just didn't have the same ball production. Good player, made good plays. I just always go back to the game we talk about all the time where he had 4 picks in 2022, and it's just I can't get over it. I go to sleep and think about it sometimes.
What you think? Because you think that it's like stat stuffing or what?
A little.
No, I still think he's good. Think
he's good.
He's
but
a really good player.
It's just amazing, like interceptions, how they could be perceived at times.
I still think he's a really good player.
He's a good player.
I'd take Nate Wiggins over him, but I still think Mitchell's a first round player. But anyways, we're going Wiggins at 17. 18 is where JC Latham comes off the board to the Cincinnati Bengals. We sticking with this one. I know you're
I would take Demarius Mims, but that's just me.
I got Latham above Mims.
Keep Latham there then.
Yeah, I got.
We'll get to Mims in just a moment.
He goes. Well, obviously the right tackle thing stays the same because they're both right tackles. Yep. But you can replace Jonah Williams to get JC Latham in there. The Los Angeles Rams.
I love this pick.
Latu.
Yeah, I love the fit. I love the player. I like the spot.
Doesn't even have to move. Yeah, moving costs.
He literally just takes the Uber.
We talk about that on the show all the time. You know, I think mainstream draft media does not think about moving costs enough.
Fontenot to the Seahawks.
Right.
I mean, Jeremiah sees it. Why doesn't the rest of the society see it?
You just got to understand. Anytime that you can make a multi-billion-dollar decision
but you
on a $850 moving cost,
you got to do it.
You have to do it.
You got to do it.
You truly.
Who are the Jets going to take from Fordham or Rutgers at the 10th overall pick?
Max Melton.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. They're going to get up there for like day 3. They draft Max Melton like with a priority pick in the 4th round or whatever. And Joe Douglas is going to be like, yeah, we saved the money on moving costs. He's already got an apartment in the city, so.
This was the right move. Yeah.
All right, so we're going Latu to the Rams. I like this as well. Obviously, I was a little bit higher on Byron Young last year, and he played a ton this year.
Yeah,
they threw him out there immediately, but it's because they didn't really have any other options. And so I still really like him as a speed outside type of an edge rusher, but the Rams need that technician type of an edge rusher on the outside. They just don't have one. And I think Latu absolutely fits that bill. So Steelers at 20. This is where your boy Mims comes off the board.
Well, this is fun too, because they have Broderick already, who flashed a lot this year. And then it's like, okay, let's take Demarius Mims. And now we have the 2 Georgia tackles that are just absolute athletic freaks coming out.
And George Pickens.
And they got Pickens. Yeah. And Darnell Washington. Listen, you're not going to find the only thing I'll say, okay, actually.
They're going to draft Cedric Van Pran in the 3rd.
There we go. How do they steal Lad McConkey? In all seriousness, we can't change positions in this mock, so this is not really purposeful, but I'll still say it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I would be taking a corner here at 20. There's just no way I wouldn't take a corner here.
There's really good ones left.
That's why. The corner board in this scenario, Jeremiah still has Kool-Aid, Wiggins, Cooper DeJean, Rakestraw. They're all on the board.
Oh, yeah. These are good players.
I mean, I'm not going to... This pick is fine. It's just, man, the Steelers need a corner so badly, and the supply is right there staring you at the face. And then they all go in the next 10 picks. So what are you doing in round 2, So, I don't know. That's all I'll leave this one at. But I wouldn't change this pick.
Corners deep, maybe you're praying that you get TJ Tampa in the 2nd round.
Which is a great scheme fit in a sense. Right. Like that they like that long, explosive. Or Lassiter fits them.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that thought process. But they overachieved this year, so they're not picking early in the 2nd round.
Right.
Corners.
Anyways, we can't change it. I think we're going Mims, but yeah, that's that conversation there. I don't know if I would go corner with Mims on the board.
Right. It's not a bad pick. There's no way this is in any way
Now,
a bad
Jeremiah
pick.
himself, if he had Terrion Arnold still on the board, I think that he'd take him because he took Terrion Arnold at 12.
And we
So,
moved that one.
Yeah, I don't think that he would fight too much against us wanting Terrion Arnold in Steelers black and gold, but we got to stick with him.
The next one's fun.
Miami Dolphins, Brian Thomas Jr. Okay.
I mean, this is what they do.
Okay.
Right.
Tyreek's talked about retiring randomly. Like, he doesn't need to, but didn't Tyreek say he's like, I'll play till I'm 30 and I'm done?
And then he walked it back. So Tyreek turns 30 in March. Obviously, we don't think he's retiring, but he walked it back, but he said he was going to play out his contract with the Dolphins. And when you look at it like that, that would mean he's playing realistically, like, maybe 2 to 3 more years, counting next season.
Does he still have that much time on his contract?
Yeah, I'm looking at the structure of it and making sure I'm not counting a void year. He does. He's under contract till 2026, but his cap number in 2026 is $56.3 million.
Classic.
I mean, I mean, what?
Why don't you just round it up to an even 100?
Talk about
why don't we just make it even numbers here?
Talk about the Magic Johnson. I'm not going to be here. Whoever wrote that one up was like, "Yep, what? Not going to be my problem."
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So
sure.
There's that. That's funny.
Well, if it's wide receiver, Brian Thomas Jr. is next for me.
So me too, and I think he's a hell of a player, and I would be scared shitless, quite frankly, if he went to Miami. Just being honest.
I did. So people who might be like, whoa, I thought Tez Walker was next for you. Because when we did the wide receiver episode, I had Tez Walker above Brian Thomas Jr. and Troy Franklin. And now I got him a little bit further. I only have him like 10 spots down. I think he's still top 35 for me. But what you said on the wide receiver show stuck out to me about some of the yards after catch ability. Because sometimes you watch how athletic a guy is and you go, oh my gosh, like what an athlete in space, all this kinds of stuff. But it doesn't always translate into yards after catch production. Rome Odunze is a little bit like that as well,
right.
Like we talked about already on the show. So Tez is sort of like that feel as well. And because of that and how good Brian Thomas Jr. can be after the catch, how I think excellent Troy Franklin is after the catch and how many missed tackles that he forced. Ladd McConkey is just a different type of receiver who I love. And so he's kind of around that same category. But that's why I ended up bringing him down a little bit because it's like, okay, I still really like Tez. I think he could be a back end of the first round wide receiver. Love what he is as an athlete, especially as a vertical deep threat. But that aspect of it, just to give people transparency on why he's a little bit further down from where the wide receiver episode, that would be why. So I would agree. Let's go with Brian Thomas Jr. here for the Dolphins.
Another pick though, I would have taken offensive line. If they lose Robert Hunt in free agency, which a lot of people are thinking they're gonna, they got to make this line has to be better. So
all right, Philadelphia is up next, but before we get to them, got to talk to you guys about Prize Picks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Easily the most exciting way to play DFS. Just you against the numbers. You pick more, you pick less. It is that easy. Instead of battling thousands of different players, including pros and sharks, you just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. I am proud to announce that Eli hit this past weekend, baby. The 3-player bets just absolutely slammed for our guy this weekend. He was just drowning in champagne because of it. The champagne cost way more than the actual winnings, but you know what? Sometimes you just got to go big when you hit it big. And, when you're at Prize Picks, that's kind of how you're going to feel all the time. You go to prizepicks.com, use the promo code NFLSE for a first deposit match that is up to $100. They've even got a reboot policy so your entries stay in, even if one of your players gets injured. For example, I think that didn't Debo go out first half?
Yeah, first quarter.
For football, basketball games, you got a player who exits the first half, does not return for the second. That player is automatically rebooted. It's the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. Like we said, prizepicks.com/NFLSE. Use the promo code NFLSE for your first deposit match up to 100 cold wins. You pick more, you pick less. It's that easy, folks. 22, Philadelphia Eagles. Tyler Guyton.
Yeah, there he is.
Okay.
You know what? It's not that surprising.
No. It's not surprising to see Tyler Guyton in the first round. We've seen that before. We even talked about that in our latest mock draft. But Eagles.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Lane's what now? 32?
33?
If I was a smart human, I would just use the Google machine. He is 33.
Yeah.
What a player. He is 33. He will turn 34 in May. So he will be a 34-year-old next year. Obviously, he played 16 games this year, and he's still incredible. This is an organization that DJ usually has a good read on, by the way.
I'd go Morgan because I like him better.
Me too. So this is a pick that, and Guyton's, this is one of those where if it happens on draft night, you kind of like, under your breath, you're like, oh shit. Because you just know that organization will get the most out of that player and you ranked him a little too low. It happens all the time.
Somebody asked me about Guyton earlier this week, and the thing is, like we talked about on the offensive line show, in a class full of really great athletes at offensive tackle, Tyler Guyton is without question the best.
He's a dancing
without
bear.
question. And with him, it's just the footwork's kind of a mess. He doesn't have his balance under him at all times. He does not stay on his blocks. He's more of a shover than he is a let me get hands on you, let me get the grip strength going, let me lock you up. So like if you develop all those things, he's going to be one of the younger prospects in this class, I believe. It definitely makes sense, but I'd still go Morgan here. I think that Morgan has just shown more NFL abilities to tackle. The problem is that he might be a guard,
right?
But whatever.
I like Morgan a lot. He was tackle 5 for me. I can't not take him here.
We're showing love to our boy, our boy Jordan Morgan.
Represent.
Houston Texans at 23. He's got them going. Chop Robinson here.
So this is one where I feel like obviously you and I are different. Chop is edge 4 for me. The other 3 guys ahead of him are gone. So I wouldn't change this, but man. Grenard's a free agent, which is a big deal. I hope that this pick doesn't have to happen, is what I'll say.
You wanted to bring Grenard back? Is that what you're saying?
Or if you can't, still go out and get an edge rusher that fits under D'Amico. We've talked about how good this edge rush free agency class is. I just think this is a need that you can solve with money that I don't feel like I need to solve it with my first round pick. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I really hope that this isn't the route they have to go. But, I mean, I think this is a better one to kick to you. What player would you change this to? Because you're lower on Chop.
Braswell.
Okay. Power profile.
For sure.
We've talked about him with Houston because the Alabama connection.
Correct.
We did this exact scenario.
Correct. I would very comfortably go Chris Braswell.
Okay.
If we're changing
Well, you could change it then. I don't care.
Okay. I will. Okay. All right.
All right.
All right. So 24, Dallas Cowboys. Jordan Morgan going here to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Who do I have next at offensive tackle?
I have Guyton, ironically, and that would be the flip. You probably...
I might have Kieran Amagashi from Yale, I think.
Wow.
Next.
That would be
He's
something.
good, man. Now, here's the thing. Yeah, I do. I have Kieran right above Tyler Guyton.
Okay.
Here's the thing. We can go Guyton here. It's fine. Everything depends on how... Because Kieran is... Kieran's Senior Bowl.
He's Senior Bowl bound. So is Guyton.
Oh, both those guys.
I thought so. Last I looked, this list does change. I have it open. I promise.
I thought both those guys were in it.
Me too. Why am I not seeing... Yeah, Guyton's in. He's on the list.
Okay. Kieran's not?
I don't see him, which is weird, right?
All right.
I don't see him. That's weird.
Now I got to look it up. Now I'm going to check. Because sometimes they're on a different list.
Why is it in my brain? I saw an accepted invite.
I felt like it was too, but then I just Googled it and he's not there. So...
Is he Shrine or is he just nothing? Because he's too good to not be at an all-star game. He's a senior, so you don't have any questions on eligibility.
Maybe he just didn't.
We're going like full True Detective on Kieran Amagashi right now.
Why did I have it in my head that he was going to the Senior Bowl?
This is legitimately bothering me. I'm sure this is a phenomenal podcasting for all of those of you listening.
Oh, wait. He will miss the opportunity to prove he is equally capable against Power 5 level prospects at the Senior Bowl due to recovery from surgery.
There it is.
Amagaji will attend the Senior Bowl
good.
practice and meet with NFL teams, but he will not practice.
Okay, that mystery that was solved at least.
Oh, he had a torn quad. That's why.
That's brutal. That's a Triple H injury.
Damn.
Wow.
I was really hoping to see him.
Yeah, that one actually really
he dominates,
stinks.
man. Obviously, it's Ivy level competition, but you can only go up against who you go up against.
Right.
And he very clearly looks way better than everybody that he goes up against at that level.
If he went to Mobile and pitched a shutout for the most part in one-on-ones, he'd be in the first round.
All right, we'll go Guyton here, but just know, everybody out there, that we brought up Kieran Amagaji, the offensive tackle from you.
25, Packers. Go Pack, go.
Graham Barton?
Graham Barton. This line played really well this year, considering the adversity they dealt with. But it is nice to have a super utility man like Barton, right?
Yeah.
And Jeremiah says that. He's like, he could play all 5 spots up front. You and I have agreed.
Only player that I would think about switching him out for is Jackson Powers Johnson from
Get
Oregon.
A true center.
But
which is probably their weakest, maybe their weakest point.
Right. It's almost
Josh
like
Myers isn't that good.
It's almost like, okay, do you want the offensive guard, offensive tackle versatility? Because if you do, you're picking Barton. Do you want the center offensive guard versatility? Because if you do, you're picking Powers Johnson.
Mm-hmm. I think we leave it, but I like the idea.
Packers fans, please let us know.
Yeah, let us know what
would you
think.
rather have here.
It's
we'll
also
leave
a
it
scenario.
again out of respect.
All right,
but yeah, Bucks Ennis Rakestraw Jr. at 26. Like it. I mean, with a lot of the edge rushers off the board here already, it makes sense. I think this team's got to get way better at pass rusher on the edges. But I also think that there's certainly reason to believe they got to get better at outside corner as well. We got Terrion Arnold still on the board. We got Kool-Aid McKinstry still on the board. Even though I really like Ennis Rakestraw Jr., both these guys are still here. So I would take Terrion Arnold.
Right. This is, how we flip the draft. And yeah, it would be Arnold for me. There's a lot I like about Rakestraw, but I'm not going to sit here and lie after we just did the episode and say he'd be one of my top, 4 corners to go. It's not out of the realm of possibility he goes in the first round, though. And we've talked.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. I think he's a first round corner.
I think his injuries will be the big thing to evaluate. If you think he's going to hold up with his how he's built and with his play style, that'll be the number one question teams will ask.
So we'll have Arnold going to the Bucks, and then Cooper DeJean goes to the Cardinals at 27. Good
living for the Cardinals. You walk out with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Cooper DeJean. What the hell? Good living.
McKinstry's here, so if we're sticking corner, we're going McKinstry, yes. Both Adam CB4?
Yeah.
I mean, it's still not bad. You got Kool-Aid McKinstry, you got Marvin Harrison Jr. It's 2 of the more premier players in all college football over the last 2 years, so you don't have to be too bummed out about it. Buffalo Bills at 28. Johnny Newton. This is where Johnny Newton comes off the board. Are Bills fans going to be pissed they didn't go wide receiver? Who's left? You got Tez Walker who's left. Troy Franklin was on the board. Lad McConkey, Keon Coleman, A.D. Mitchell. All those guys are still there.
You got to, right? I mean, Gabe's a free agent. We'll probably get the truth, or maybe we don't, about Diggs. Diggs was a shell of himself these last 8 weeks or whatever it was. Like a total.
I'm so bummed Diggs didn't catch that bomb of a pass from Allen.
I said
that might have been the best pass of the season.
I was just going to say that'll go down as the best pass of the playoffs, and it wasn't even completed. And you could argue season. I mean, Newton is a great player, good pick for the Bills, but I would take wide receiver here because you can't even sit there and go, well, they'll probably just figure it all out in free agency. They're like $49 million over the cap, and they'll get down. They'll make the cuts and all that, but the Bills are in position to address wide receiver successfully for cheap, in my opinion. And it's with
Do we make an executive decision?
Here we go. Rip up the rule sheet.
I think we All right, we're making an
But, I mean,
executive decision.
we can
We're
give that to
defending the
Bills
people.
fans right now. It's the least they can get after
Yeah,
what they've been through.
It's the least that we
So.
can get. Troy
Great,
Franklin.
Gracie is barking outside. She agrees. She's saying,
I
take
hear
the wide receiver.
I was going to say,
Yes.
Gracie is yelling that the Bills cannot take an interior defensive lineman while Troy Franklin's on the board. So I think we're going Troy Franklin here for the Buffalo Bills. All right, so Kansas City Chiefs, Devontae Walker at 29. Since Franklin's off the board, it's basically either him or Lad McConkey, but I actually like Tez Walker much more because you need that deep downfield threat. Rashee Rice is the more underneath player. So I would stick with Tez Walker. I don't have any problem doing that. Do you?
I love this fit. Yeah,
Okay.
I just think he chews up so much ground in his strides. Walker. Yeah. It'd be a lot of fun.
Okay. So Lions at 30. Nate Wiggins at 30. That's good living. You're the Lions. You're playing in the NFC Championship game. You also get Nate Wiggins at 30. That's a damn good season. All right, so we got to stick at corner. We've had a lot go off the board already. Oh, Rakestraw's here. So I think Rakestraw.
That's fine.
I had Mitchell.
I forgot about Mitchell.
Yeah, he's still here.
Next for me would be Tampa or Mitchell. So if Mitchell's next for you, that tie goes to him.
Yeah, did you have you had Mitchell above Rakestraw?
I did.
Okay, so then it would be Quinion Mitchell then going to the Lions if we're going to change it, which we have to because Wiggins is already off the board. But yeah, man, you get another corner on this team, already making an NFC Championship game.
Yeah, they need one.
Quinion Mitchell makes a ton of sense. 49ers, another cornerback, Cooley McKinstry here. So now this one comes down to. We could basically, because I think our rankings are pretty similar with where Tampa is versus where Rakestraw Jr. is. I have Rakestraw Jr. higher. That's who I would go with, but I think you have Tampa higher than him.
I do. So, I actually had Lassiter over Rakestraw too, but that one's close.
Oh, massive hater.
Or
who do we like better here for San Francisco?
Right.
Tampa or Rakestraw?
Well, I think we talked about how Tampa's press numbers went up this year, but they weren't that high because he takes a press corner here, right? He talks about how he loves the fit with Kool-Aid to the Niners, what they want, what they do.
Rakestraw is not a press corner either.
Right. I was just going to say.
Lassiter is,
but I would not take Lassiter at 31. It's just, I don't think he's going to be a big tester in this group.
I think Tampa can play man. I think
because he can open up and run like the wind.
Yes.
I would go Tampa.
All right.
Like, throw me a bone.
We'll get TJ Tampa in there. Damn good player at 31. And then Ravens picking at 32. He's got Troy Franklin. So the next wide receiver for me is Lad McConkey. I don't know who it is for you.
Ooh,
is it Mitchell?
Fun. Let me pull up the old wide receiver ranks here.
They have enough underneath dudes, though.
Right. I don't know if this is the guy that they need as much as we love the player.
I'd pick A.D. Mitchell next. I think it might be Polk for you.
It's Coleman and Polk. Polk would be a perfect Raven.
He kind of would be.
Like, just catches everything in traffic.
even though I'm not this high on him, right. He kind of would be.
Just gets the snot knocked out of him and doesn't care.
Yeah.
And then we've talked about with Coleman, as much as he has his shortcomings and concerns, the way Lamar plays, you could talk yourself into Coleman there because it's like, okay, we've been running around for 7 seconds. Now let's throw on up to our small forward. I like Polk the best out of the options for this team.
I think I like A.D. Mitchell the best for the Ravens.
Okay. So you want the size, speed.
Yeah, I want the size, speed. I want the red zone ability. I want all of that.
I want it all. Well, Beckham's a free agent. So that takes away some speed from their team.
People just heard me aggressively typing. So that somebody said
wildly aggressive.
Somebody said in the comments, well, I have a mechanical keyboard, but I also.
Wait, what's that?
Like a mechanical keyboard?
Yeah, what's a mechanical keyboard?
It's just a keyboard that like makes a sound.
Like the keys are higher, like the ones we used in high school and stuff on like a desktop.
Yeah, sort of. I don't know if that's exactly how it goes, but like they are louder. Like it is a louder keyboard. But I just think I don't know. I think it's cool to have a mechanical keyboard. And like some mechanical keyboards, like the buttons, clicking is more like high pitched. Like some of it is more like mechanical. Mine's more of just kind of like a thud, but like some of them are more like a ping sound. So it's just like ping, 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 ping.
Yeah.
But I also type very aggressive anyways, because if I've never said this before on this podcast, which I think I have, I type with index fingers
Only?
only. When we're at the combine,
Wow.
when we're at the combine, you come over to the PFF desk and you watch me write an article.
Actually, I think I do the same thing.
I am the fastest
I do
index
too.
finger only typer.
I do the same thing.
Just bah, 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 bah.
I do the same thing, and I am a very fast typer.
So everybody out there who watches
that's weird.
the show,
It's like we were
listens
meant
the
to do
show,
a podcast together.
You know what? You just love when it all comes together. All right, so the Ravens are losing Odell Beckham Jr. probably. They've got Devin Duvernay, who's small, Tylan Wallace, who's small, Zay Flowers, who is small, Rashad Bateman, who is small. How big is Bateman?
He's not small. He's like 6'1" or 6'2".
Like 6 foot.
Really?
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that I've just always had in my brain is bigger than what he's listed at. So Football Reference has him 6'1", 197. That's not small. Zay Flowers is small. Zay Flowers is 5'9", 180.
At the combine, actually, no, this is at the pro day. Rashad Bateman was 6 foot and 3/8.
Wow. Pro Football Reference lied to me. They rounded up like we did with Tyreek Hill's cap hit.
Yeah, what is a hinge profile?
It's a good move.
I want A.D. Mitchell.
All right, take him.
I will.
Go ahead. Watch me.
I want the size,
I'll
dude.
do it.
I want it right there. All right, so here we go. This is it.
What a line. I want the size. I want it right there.
All right.
Log off.
Thank
with
you.
your mechanical keyboard.
Don't clip that. Here we go.
Please don't make that the open.
Ryan, I am begging
I'm begging you. Oh, that's great.
I'm going to delete this part of the episode
before you send the files. That's what a pro does. No evidence.
Okay, so here we go. We didn't have a ton of changes really till the very end with Jeremiah's mock. I think the one change that we had early was Malik Neighbors at 5, Rome Odunze at 6. We had flipped that from what he had.
Yeah.
We also flipped Olufashano and Tilize Fuaga. There was a lot of like cornerbacks, I think, that flipped just because we see the cornerbacks differently. Very differently. But a lot of the rest of the picks, man, everything kind of stayed the same. Again, when we got towards the end, I think a lot of people see the very top of the class pretty similarly. But when you get into rankings 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, I think that's where you get a lot of variance from analyst to analyst. So that's where you start to see a lot of that stuff change. But really, outside of seeing this cornerback class differently, I think that certainly at the very top, we see it very similar to the way that Daniel Jeremiah does, which is good for us because, like I said at the very top, Jeremiah is one of the best in business. So that was good for us.
Right. It's kind of in line with the league and where it's going. And the fun thing about doing an exercise like this is to see how it changes over time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody gathers more info. You naturally get more info from athletic testing. And right now, everybody has the tape, and it's, everybody has the same tape. But not everybody has the same info, and everybody will have the same athletic testing. So yeah, it'll be fun to watch this evolve. And I think the purpose of us doing this today, rather than just giving you guys a standard, hey, here's our mock draft, is how somebody else is seeing it, the little things we would do differently, but more importantly, how we might see it the same. To try to solve this puzzle that goes on until the end of April.
Yeah, we just thought that this would be a fun way to talk about Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft because just like everybody else out there, we are fans of DJs, and so when he drops a mock, we're running to it, and we're thinking about, oh my gosh, he's got this player there. So I know you guys watched the episode, we appreciate it and everything, but please go follow DJ, go read his mock draft. Go click on it for NFL.com because that means a lot to the people who are covering the NFL draft in this business. So please go do that. DJ is great. We absolutely love him. We had a lot of fun doing this. Let us know what you guys thought of Daniel Jeremiah's picks, of our conversations around some of those picks, maybe the picks that we would change. Let us know some of the picks that you would change as well. Best way to do that, YouTube comments. NFL or youtube.com/NFL Stock Exchange. If you are audio only, you can still hit us up and get your submissions in at Connor J. Rogers, at Tampa Bay Trey on both X and Instagram. Connor and I will be back with you for one more episode. I think this week we're going to do it on Wednesday because I'm traveling to the Shrine Bowl on Thursday.
Right.
And things start to really, really pick up. So we'll probably give it to you a day earlier this week. Probably a fixture franchise. I think we owe you guys that last one. We talked about either doing 1 or 2 this week. With Jeremiah releasing his mock, we wanted to have fun with that. But we'll give you one more fixture franchise before we get into Shrine and Senior Bowl season, before we get to jump into that. But Connor, you got anything else before we get out of here?
No, fun exercise. Won't be, if you guys like this, let us know, because it won't be the last time we do it, whether it's the next one. Brugler drops. We've had Dane on the show, obviously. I think we will definitely have to get the Bootleg Boys in Brett and EJ back on to do a
100%
combined pod.
100%.
That was a great show last year. We had so much fun with that. So it's that time of year where it's just collaborating more with the rest of the industry, as Trevor and I put our rankings in the books.
Yep. It is it's a lot of fun. This time of year it's great when, like I said, I think I said this a couple of shows ago, it's so much fun when everybody kind of turns the page.
Yeah.
We got 4 teams left in the NFL postseason now, and everybody else is kind of turning the page. So we're getting to that point where a lot of our favorite friends and media members are getting to that point, and we're going to be able to have them on the show, kind of talk about what they're talking about and all that good stuff. But before then, we got one more show for you this week coming up on Wednesday. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. See you guys on Wednesday.